Hi again. It's been about a week since we started this rough sketch of the rabbit hole from Alice in Wonderland, and I wanted to go through a refresher. We did the rough sketch with really scribbly lines, and then we are just now starting to do the walls around it. And I've had a chance to think about it a little bit while the week was going along, and I'm going to go back down into here. Let's go back to 100%, 100%. Come on, 100%. There we go, 100%. Take out my teleportation device, and as cozy as this feels, I started thinking, well, maybe this is a little too tight, a little too cozy. Um, I could be wrong, but I think I might want to enlarge it just a little bit. Keep the scale the same for the avatar, but then just make everything just a little bit bigger. So I can do that, but I want to make sure that I'm always really being very true to the scale of the experience of the person. So these avatars, these little placeholders, need to stay the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the layers. I've got the rough, which is the drawing lines that include those avatars, and I've got the mesh, which I can turn on and off. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm just going to call it avatars. Avatars. And I'm going to drag these avatars to that layer. There we go. Grab it, put her in there. It goes green when I do. Grab another one, put her there. Okay, now they are on their own layer. So what I can do is I can lock that layer so that now I can't pick them up. Also means that I can go and I can grab, let's actually make sure one of these layers is active, grab all of these guys. So I've got everything, both the other two layers, and I'm going to just group them. And now that they're grouped, I can take this tool and I can enlarge everything. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, I'm going to ungroup it now. Okay, so now I've got everything ungrouped. So now I've got the rough still on its layer. I've still got the mesh on its layer, and I've got the avatars on their layer. But now the avatars are floating around in different places. So I'm going to grab. Whoops! I have to unlock the avatar layer. I'm going to grab her, move her there. Grab her, move her down here. Grab her and move her closer to the table. Now everything's much bigger, but I have a feeling in VR that's a good thing. So I'm going to go back down, shrink myself back down to 100%. 100%. Get up my teleportation thingy. Okay, this is much bigger, but I think probably it'll feel less claustrophobic, even though it's supposed to be a rabbit warren. The scale feels better. This still feels big, but not too big. Now this table feels like it's about table height, and I'm about the right height for the avatars. Okay, remember this is just a really quick sketch. So now I'm going to start adding more detail to it. So let's move her feet out from under the ground. Okay, so I'm going to lock the rough layer, and I'm going to lock the avatars so I don't actually accidentally grab them. And I'm going to, let's see, right now I've got the light, it's kind of over my head, so when I'm moving it around, you see the shadows are starting to move around. That's really handy if you're working on just an object, because the object, if you were building an object in the room, as you move the object around, the light would change. But if you're talking about an environment, maybe you want that light to be consistent. So I can go into the menu and choose this light, change its location so it's illuminating everything a little bit better. And let's see, and then it has an anchor on it, a lock. I'm going to unlock it. There we go. Okay, so now it says that I am on a locked layer, so I'm going to click the mesh layer, which is not locked. And I'm going to start to go through the process of finishing out the low poly version of this model. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to just start this. I'm going to bring these walls up first. And there you can notice that the verts are snapping. And I'm following the contours created by my rough scribbly sketch. Okay, I'm gonna One of the problems I will face really soon is that Gravity Sketch renders both sides of a face. So that's great for when I'm in here and I'm feeling for what it feels like to be in this space. But it gets harder to navigate in here, and there's some tricks that will involve my having to bring this model out and work on it a little bit in another program. And I can show you how that's done. But for now, I'm just roughing it together on the walls. And if this process gets too tedious for you, please feel free to fast forward. I will completely understand. It's going to be me doing this for a little while. So extruding an edge, clicking the vertices so they snap together. And when I go to the other side, I'll be snapping this tunnel closed at the top. But I wanted to make sure that these sides were working before I did that. This door is sticking on the wrong side. Please forgive the sniffling. It's springtime, so my sinuses are acting accordingly. Okay, so that's that side. Let's go over here and do the same over here. Make sure these doors are sticking. And since the floor is attached to the walls, when I move this edge, I'm moving the floor as well as the walls. Although this can look like it's tedious, it actually is quite intuitive. While I'm being quiet, I'm also just, my little hamster brain is spinning. Okay, oops, this side now. Because I locked that sketch layer, when I go to grab this, I'm not accidentally grabbing these lines. If I had not locked the layer, I would be grabbing it and I'd be constantly messing up that sketch. So having it locked up just means it's not something I don't have to worry about. Oops, am I starting to attach you? No, I'm not. I want to give myself a little sort of crowning roof ceiling piece when I go to seal this all up. And I can see too that there's an opportunity for me to have added a line where the wainscoting is, but I can actually add that later. Just like the line drawing, I'm being really messy. I can get away with it because I'm doing something that's organic in nature. So this would be a whole different story if I was doing an architectural structure. And I'd have to say that probably if I was doing a model with lots of right-angled walls, I would probably not choose Gravity Sketch to be the place that I would build it. I might build it in a program like SketchUp and then export it into Gravity Sketch and allow, oops, I'm gonna not do that. Okay, so that's the entrances. So my tunnels that go in here, go to proverbial 100%. So I'm starting to get these walls in here, my weird floaty doors. Okay, now I'm gonna seal it all up. As I see right here, I've already missed an opportunity to snap. There we go. Okay. So since each wall is based upon the same floor, I should be able to pretty easily marry and cap the top here. Yeah. Creating kind of a ridge like the back of a horse here. Later, I can subdivide these surfaces and make them much smoother, which would be nice looking. Here's this door is not in the hallway. Keep sealing up the roof. You know what? I'm going to undo that. I didn't give myself enough here to create that ridge that I want. So I'm going to extrude twice. So see, you can see the sort of ridge I'm making, the top of the roof, the top of the ceiling. It's sort of horseback. Probably a poor name for it. Getting boring yet? Like I said, if this gets too tedious, just fast forward. In fact, I think you've probably seen enough of this. I'll probably fast forward this in the edit so you're not forced to watch every single vert snap. Okay, so that's the tunnel hallways. Let's do the rabbit hole next. Same technique, just grabbing the geometry, grabbing the edges of these planes. Now there are other ways I could have done this. I could have started with a cube and then deformed it, but this makes me feel like I have some more control over where I'm placing these facets. Also, it means that it feels more organic. Allows me to be messier. Just making sure that all these points, these verts, are connected. Not trying to make hollow, because if this is experienced in VR, you're not going to see the outside of this, if I'm lucky. But at the moment, like I said, it is forcing to render both surfaces. And when I start getting into like placing props and furniture and things like that, I'm going to want to be able to see through these walls so that when I'm inside, it will be opaque, but outside I can see through the facing side. So I'm going to add, the tip of this handset, there's a little indicator that lets me do a cut that wraps all the way around. It's just giving me more complexity to play with for later. Maybe another one here, because this is a hole after all, so it's going to have some asymmetry to it. If I'm looking down the hole, there we go. Okay. And I've got this line that I indicated here that was for the wainscoting. I'm going to use that same tool, and I'm going to just cut that if it'll let me. Will it let me? Yeah, it will. So see what it did? It basically created another line here. When I go to color it, I can color this differently. Sadly, with Gravity Sketch, I can color the whole model, but I can't one whole mesh, but I can't color faces yet. That's not an option that they're letting me have yet. So that did it. That should have done it all the way around. So it did. So I'm going to treat this like this is going to be the wainscoting area. I think probably if I really go complex, I'm going to build a special model for the wainscoting that has lots more detail. And this color difference, so this line here will just become a reference for me to replace it. Okay. So I've got a tunnel. I've got a hole. I can turn that off. I can look down. Let's go inside of that just for another view of what it looks like. And that's feeling better. I'm really happy that I went through the effort of making it just a little bit bigger so it doesn't feel as claustrophobic. So now if I look up, I can see there's the hole I would have fallen through, and then I'm starting to descend through these hallways with my scribbly doors, my scribbly light fixtures, and then I'm going to enter this room. And I'm thinking that maybe this room, I don't want to be so organic as the hallways, just as contrast. So I'm going to try and use a shape as the base. Let's see. So let's guess that that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sided. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8 sided. And I'm going to make sure I turn on grid so that when I bring something in, it is going to snap vertically, more architecturally. I'm going to choose the cylinders, and I'm going to choose subdivision object here, and I'm going to choose customize. So the difference is if that's off and I create a cylinder, that's what I get. I have no really control over how many facets it has, and if I edit it, that's pretty much what I get. And let's say I don't want that. I want to control how many facets. So by going back into and turning on a subdivision object and customize on, when I bring it in, it gives me the option of changing how many facets and how many slices. So it's on 7 now. I want 8, and then I just want 1 for the moment. And that's good. So I'm going to bring, let's see, I'm going to bring this here. Oops. See, I got to be careful when the snapping's on. So I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to, whoops, got to make sure I grab it and then enlarge it. So this is going to be my hallway walls. And let's edit it now. I don't want these facets up here, so I'm going to delete them. And once I delete a number of them, I get basically a flat surface. There we go. And I'm going to turn on the restrict face movement so that when I grab a face, I can choose to go up and down like this. That's about where I had that. And then I'm going to click and press trigger to extrude, and I'm going to just sort of create that dome that I've indicated here. Whoops. Why are you doing that? Huh. Oh, it probably is. I just don't know what that's doing there. Let's undo that. I'm going to turn this grid off. It may be giving me troubles. So back to editing, back to restrict face movement. There we go. Click, shrink, a little bit, click, shrink, click, shrink, click, shrink. There we go. So that's great. Now I've got my hallways that are not connecting to it very well. So I'll get this tool out. I'm going to click it again to get it in the center and choose rotate. I'm going to rotate these pieces so they better intersect with the tunnels that I've created. Okay. And this space is not lined up perfectly. Let me grab this tool again, choose it again. I'm going to move that there. Maybe I'll shrink it slightly, get a better idea of where it's located. Make it a little bigger. Okay, and I'm going to edit this again, and I'm going to delete the floor. There we go, because I have a floor already. Okay, and that's right angled. So now, let's see, that's turned off. I am going to edit this, and I'm going to basically choose, let's see where the wainscoting would be, if there's going to be any. No, I'm not going to do that yet, but I'm going to delete this face, and I'm going to delete this face. No, I'm not going to delete that yet. Undo. Now you're into the sausage making part of the creative process. So I'm going to give myself a couple more sections so that I can, and that did that all the way around. So I'm going to bring this over here, snap that. Bring this. No, I'm not going to do that. Down here. I'm making the openings in that. So this is a little messy. I'm going to make a separator here. Are you letting me? Nope. Nope, I've edited it too much. Nope, I'm out of luck. Okay, so delete. No, you're just gonna not let me. Okay. Okay. That's a mess. Okay, we'll figure this out. It's not letting me. There are other ways to do that, but for the moment, I'm going to just do this. So turn that off. I'm going to actually. I'm going to go to my layers, and I'm going to turn my rough off. I don't need to look at that right now. Back onto here. And I'm going to have a sort of a messy, ragged edge to begin with in here. Notice it's just kind of messy in here, but I can fix that later. One thing I cannot do is I cannot snap verts in this mesh to the domed interior mesh. At least not in here, I can't. I'm going to go back to editing this and get rid of that. There we go. I'm just going to let it intersect in here for now. I'll clean that up later just to make sure it's relatively light tight. Come on, you go in here. Oh, that's messy. Okay, let's go inside this thing. Now it looks like we're visiting a colon. Grab my teleportation. I'm starting to go down the halls. And then I enter this big space. If I want, I can turn the rough back on so I can see what that looks like. It's funny, it looks smaller now that I have geometry. So now I'm doubly happy that I went through the effort of adding or enlarging. Okay. Let's see. Okay, back up. Whoops, I grabbed the whole thing. You have to be careful if you grab the model by accident. Okay, so there's a lot of messy stuff I don't need anymore. So I'm going to get rid of my banana. I'm going to lock the mesh. I'm going to turn it down a little bit so it's less opaque. I'm going to unlock the rough. I'm going to start deleting these lines. I can just grab them and don't need them anymore. Don't need the wainscoting. I got geometry for that. I'm going to leave the doors just for a little bit. I'm going to replace those with better doors soon enough. It feels nice to get rid of the rough scribbles. As informative as they were, you would kind of like to have more sort of fidelity and finesse in your line work, but it's not really not important for this process. I'll leave those curtains in there for the moment to remind me I want to put curtains in there. This light is sticking out, so I'm going to tuck anything that's sticking out. This circle can go away. These walls can go away. This can go away. Leaving these curtains too. Okay, and the same is true for the hole. Get rid of all that underdrawing stuff. I could just turn the layer off and get rid of it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to need these lines anymore. They did their job. Same with the hole. I can actually get rid of that. I'm going to leave the tree because I need to make that in 3D. Okay, did I get rid of the messy stuff? I did. Nope, I missed one. Okay, now I'm going to lock the rough again. I'm going to unhide the mesh. There we go. You're locked. I do wish that I could get lighting in here, because right now the lighting is all bouncing off the exterior. But starting to, whoops, let me just get to scale. Let's go on an adventure. Nope, that would be too big. Get to scale, get 100%. There we go. Come on, banana. There we go. Okay, so that works. Back it go up the hallway. And I could do that scaling thing again. Everything's malleable. There we go, looking up. And when I'm doing this, it's all about feel. What does it feel like? How does it feel to be in this space? Does it feel too big? Does it feel too small? Does it feel intimate? Are the curves, the turns that I'm making unfolding so that I feel like I don't know what's going to happen as I go around a corner? You know, all that stuff is going around in my head. Okay, let's go back outside. And so things we have to do next is I'm going to just sort of refine the shapes just a little teeny bit. I'm not going to touch this very much. I'll come back later and I'll do the tree. I might work a little bit. In fact, I'll do that right now. I'll work a little bit on the hole here, the opening. And that's interesting. What did it do? I'm going to turn off subdivisions. So there we go. Easier for me to edit it. I'm very likely going to come and bring in an asset pack for the terrain, but for now this will work. Give it a little sort of alcove. I can bring grass and trees and rocks, and the other thing too is very much like doing rock work in a theme park. Anything hand sculpted just doesn't look right. It looks like a human did it, and that's fine if you're being cartoony or illustrative. But oh, look at that! I need more. But if you can bring in some more organic pieces and start arranging them, you'll end up with something that feels much more naturalistic. At this point, I'm really roughing it, so I'm not worried about things like that. I also know that I can lean more heavily on those naturalistic pieces when the time comes. Okay. That rabbit hole doesn't look like a rabbit hole when I haven't turned on the subdivisions, but as soon as I do, there we go. Then I can edit it a little bit here. Same is true inside here. I can grab and turn off subdivisions once more. I'm going to grab and create a ceiling for my hole. So when I look back up, I'm not looking through one facet here. I hope this makes sense, what I'm doing here. I feel like I'm painting a ceiling here. Okay. And it can be messy, as messy as it wants to be. And notice, you can just see where my tunnel, my hole is ragged at the top, but it's all going to be hidden inside the geometry where it intersects. So I'm not worried about it. So now I'm going to turn subdivisions back on. There we go. Smoother ground for now. And then the hole looking down. And I'll also come and do more work on the roots and the tree. So that's it for now. That has sealed everything up so that I can explore inside of it. Right now you're seeing a part of the model. Once it's done, you'll never see. It's all about what the experience is going to be, dropping down and exploring these hallways and eventually ending up in this dome space. So thanks for following along, and I will do more updates as I go, continuing my way through the process. Next, I'll be refining this. I will probably be bringing it into Blender so that I can turn off the double facing viewing normals so I can see inside here while I'm working. I'll start coloring it, and then I'll start making props and assets in other programs to bring back in here to start to arrange them in this space. I think also once I've gone through the process of bringing it back in with the normals flipped or the sides flipped, is that I'll grab an image that I'll then use as an underdrawing for a bird's eye illustration. And the bird's eye illustration for a client would be to help describe it, but as an artist, I'll make decisions in there in the illustration process that will help inform coming back in here and how I'm going to decorate these spaces. So thanks again, and see you next time.